Okay, we're back, and right now all of the nails are back in, and I've done a fair amount of alignment as I put the nails back in, so I'm pretty happy with the layout of the nails. I've run my gauge through and checked all of the spacing on the nails, but you'll end up adjusting them more when you actually start to play the game. You'll find that you thought it was adjusted and all of a sudden one will get hung up. But at any rate, all the nails are on, so the next step is to put the rails back on. So if you watched the previous video, you know that I enlarged these holes for all the wires to go through where the rails are. So now what I'm going to do on this side is I look for those and identify the ones that I know are for the wires, and I'm gonna, this is a Sanyo, and I'm not used to where the wires are on this. A Nisogen, I know where all the wires go, but what I'm doing is I'm pushing my poker through the openings that I believe are where the wires will go, and making those holes in the play field as big as the hole that I drilled. So I'll just go around and catch all of these. And these two. Pretty sure that I got that. So what you want to do before you start to put the rails back on is, on a Nisogen, they're different. This is the drain hole. The Nisogen has, like this, has two holes down at the bottom, two holes at the top. These are flat-headed steel, and these are brass. With this one actually had little screws here and nothing here, and it's held in the back with a nail. Now, although I wash all of this stuff before I put any chrome back on, I'll always hit it with steel wool, and that'll take off any soap residue or anything like that and make it nice and shiny. So this is going to go through here, and I believe that's the lock plate. Yeah, figures. I don't know what I did with the hardware. Okay. All right, so here's the little screws. You want to make sure you put this in first, because the middle, what I call the middle rail or the second rail, goes over this. So if you forget to put this in and you get the rail on, all of a sudden you realize, oops, you've made a mistake. Now this didn't have the two brass nails down here at all. I like to keep things as true to the original as possible. So one part of me says don't do it, the other part of me says, oh, go ahead. But that's the way the original drain hole was in. This almost seems like it would benefit from being nailed down. So what I'll do is I'll drill two little tiny holes and then put the brass rails in. But for the sake of the video, we won't do that right now. So these are the rail wires, again, from a previous video. These ends are real nice and straight, and they're all in one piece. I've run them through my sonic cleaner so that they're not rusty anymore. So you start with the launch ramp, and this is the way I do it. You may find it easier to do it a different way, but with the launch ramp, I load all of the pins, the wires in. I have heard people refer to these as cotter pins. I would not call these cotter pins at all. Cotter pins are different in my mind, but this is simply flat wire specific to this purpose. So this is the way that it's going to go. Now on the Sanyo also, and again, I don't know why, but on the last one at this end, they used a little brass washer. So I'm going to have a brass washer ready. So now I'm going to just squeeze the ends together and start them through that hole. Oh, look at that. I forgot a hole. That's what happens sometimes. So now the easiest way to do this, in this case, is come from the back side. So I missed this one. I'm just going to push and get that to poke up through, and then go down through like this. And then I know where the hole is, rather than trying to poke it from above and you'll end up with a bunch of little tiny pokes. So we'll get all of those in. And again, with this being a Nisogen, I didn't get all of the holes ready. Where'd my... There it is. So now I'm going to put the brass washer on. Again, I think Sanyo is the only one that does this, and I don't know what the reason is. Nobody else does it. So now obviously I've got this hanging over the edge, and you can see, or you should be able to see, I hope, how easy this goes in. I mean, it just goes right in because the holes are larger than they were, the wires are nice and straight, and you just don't have any problem at all putting them back in. So now I'm going to flip this over. And what you want to make sure of is that these are pulled tight. So I just grab them with the pliers and pull up on them. And then I'm going to check to make sure that the rail is laying flat against the playfield. And then you want to spread it just a little, grab one of the wires and lift up and bend it down, and then bend the other one. And you can see the way they're supposed to go, because the lines are still on the wood. You're just going to bend them right the way they were. Now I saw a video one time of a guy or a picture I guess, and I don't know what he did, but he had all sorts of wire, twisted wire, and he put great big globs of wax here, thinking that he needed to seal that hole. Keep in mind, if you put a new playfield on, this is vinyl. This is no longer susceptible to water damage like the old paper ones were. So I don't know what he was thinking with that, but okay. Where? Sure. Not here when I go to do a video. There we go. Okay. So I've got this set of needle nose. So what I'm going to do, I hope you can see this okay, is you're just going to take the needle nose and just bend a 90-degree bend in the end of the wire, and you just get it started right back where it belonged, and just tap it down in, and you do the same thing over here. So this is what it looks like when it's done. This right here. It looks just like it did before I took them off. And for me, that's kind of what I'm going for. So let me do the rest of these here. Again, just bend, poke it in the hole, and give it a little poke. Obviously, you don't want to hit your thumb, which I've done a number of times. Oop. Every once in a while, you don't get started quite right, and you just gotta try again. Now, you'll also find that most of the time, the spacing on the wires is the same, but every once in a while, there'll be for some reason the spacing will be different, and the chance of you getting the original wire back in its hole is slim to none. So if you get one that just doesn't get anywhere near the hole, just make your own. Or you may find that if these wires are or were a little bit rusty, when you go to bend them back, they'll break. So all you do is I just use a 1/16 drill, and I'll measure, you know, in other words, if this one breaks here, I'll just come back a little bit, drill a hole, and then do another bend and stick it in. I mean, it's so the wire ends up being shorter, who cares? So now it's back, looking just like it did before we started. The rail itself is nice and secure. It's tight to the board. The Sanyo did have a nail here. The Nisogens have a nail here and here, and then they also have a nail at the beginning of the longer one. This one didn't. And you'll also notice a nail without a head, and it'll be right at the end of this ramp. And you just pound it in until it's flush with the rail. Okay. So the next step would be to put this one on. Same way. I start with just these two to get it started, and then put these on, and then you'll finish with this one. The procedure's all the same, but it goes on nice and neat. Looks just like it did before you started. Here's where the end of this wire, when I went to bend it, broke. So what I'm going to do, I can get this a little closer to the camera. This is where the original hole was. I'm just going to back up, I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch or something, and just drill a very shallow hole with a 1/16 bit, and then rebend the wire so that it fits into that new hole. Good as new. Okay, all the nails are on, the rails are on, nice and tight. Everything is right where it belongs. On the back side, again, all the wires are bent back and just like they were originally. Just makes for a nice looking job. So now you're ready to, at your discretion, start to rebuild the front. Just start putting stuff back on the front.